Hello and welcome to another edition of positivebritain.co.uk with me, Ian Pelham Turner, on ALB UK Television. Today I'm with Jolieanna Davis, a great friend of mine, and I've just remembered her name as well, because sometimes it's probably better not to see the outtakes that happen in life. Sometimes people like myself can forget names as well at the same time, but hey ho, put it down to my age and put it down to looking at the lovely, gorgeous Jolieanna. How are you?
Ian, that's lovely, thank you. Very nice to be here as always.
It's good to see you again, because the last time we met was really just before you were going to go to China.
Yes.
And that was a great success for you. So tell me all about China.
I can't believe how much has happened, Ian, since I saw you last.
Gosh.
I know, what an adventure. So I was in China in December, as you know, and this was for the grand final of the Mrs. Globe beauty pageant, which is a huge international event. And just to recap, I was invited to actually write a song to be their theme song.
And this is
this is the very song, yes.
That's the very song, and it was fabulous as well. I remember at the time. And this is doing very well, I know.
Yes, so this is The Dream Bigger. It's a single that's currently out on all digital outlets, as performed in China. And Ian, I had such a huge audience, you know.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so there was an arena with an open air arena with around about 7,000 people in the audience. But I later found out that 100 million people tuned in to watch the show. How fantastic is that?
There you go.
So that was brilliant.
There you go.
Yeah.
So obviously things have come on, and at the moment you've moved forward into the new year and you've created an EP. Now, this young lady says, do you know what an EP is? I come from the 60s, child. Of course I know what an extended player is, but no, it's this.
It's becoming a habit. I have to keep explaining what an EP is.
It's this. This is a new project that you're sort of working on as well. So tell me, you've obviously got a lot of songs. Do you write a lot of songs yourself, or how do you actually assimilate all these different songs in the first place?
So I work with a very, very good team, and it's a small team, Get Fresh Productions. They have two key songwriters, and I usually get quite involved in the creative process, but I am very reliant on their fantastic writing skills. So sometimes it's a case of, we talk about, for example, the Dream Bigger song. I did actually co-write that, and it was a case of sitting down and saying, this is the project, and we fool around with some keywords, some buzzwords. We find out what we're trying to achieve, what we want to sing about, what the message is, and it's just an adventure, really, just a nice adventure in the studio.
What can set off the words, the lyrics to a song in the first place? Is it sort of something that just suddenly comes into your head? You know,
it literally can be anything. I mean, I'm quite an active dreamer. So something will come to me in a dream, and I'll sit down and say, okay, so this is the concept, and this is what I want to write about, or this is what I want to work on you with. But I guess everybody is different in how they write songs, but it can just be the start of a word or a sentence, and you build it around that. I'm doing a very interesting project at the moment, actually, Ian. So, Ian, you'll know my father is an ex-performer. And he wrote quite a few songs in his time.
Yes.
But of course, if you can imagine, years on, they'd be quite dated if I was to resurrect them. But one particular song has got some very interesting lyrics that I think can come through in modern times. Yes. So I've played around with just changing a few of those lyrics. Okay. I'm changing the melody a little bit, putting it with some, real on point, real modern sounds, and that's turning into a nice project.
Excellent. Do you think what makes the best lyrics? Is it true emotions that you feel? Do you think is it really experiences that a lot of songwriters write from their experiences? Do you like to sort of?
I think the performance will come across better if you can feel the lyrics. If you can relate to the story, and if it's coming from a true place, then the delivery and the passion in your performance is always going to be better. But in terms of writing a successful song, I think it's important as well to think about who your audience is, and subject that that the masses can relate to. And I know that very commonly revolves around love or heartache or breakups, but there's some other really interesting subjects we can we can sing about. We can sing about just difficulties in life and overcoming problems. Yeah. And there's a message that I think gets across quite well in some of my EP tracks. And something that I'm very passionate about is empowerment for you fellow female and being strong and being true to yourself. And that's a subject that's becoming more widespread, and you've got the masses there that hopefully will relate with what what you're singing about. I mean, at the end of the day, singing is just another form of message.
Yeah. And really you're having success upon success. I can see that at the moment. So tell me a little bit about HMV, a massive organisation.
I know, it's huge. So as I returned from China, there was some very nice media interest in terms of radio interviews, nice exposure on the radio, some local performances. So that was really lovely. And then I was so lucky to be offered a distribution contract with HMV. HMV have got a new incentive to get behind local artists and unsigned artists. So I had a record launch at my local store in the local Into Centre. And the CD was, the EP was released. At the same time, it coincided with digital release. And it was just a lovely, lovely day. There was a radio station that did a live broadcast from the launch. I did a live performance. There was friends, family, and even some fans, Ian, that have been following me for around about 10 years.
Oh, there you go.
So it was a really lovely day. Very nice.
And talk me through some of the tracks. There's, 6 or 7 tracks in Overdue? Yeah, so
yes.
Talk me through some of the tracks.
Well, there's the title track, Overdue, and the reason that we use that as the title track is it has a double meaning. We spoke about things having a meaning for me, or a meaning to your audience, and I actually recorded the track Overdue many years ago with the same record label. Yes. Okay. But at the time, we were sort of leaning in different directions. I wanted to perform power ballads, and that's not really what the label was about. So at that time, we didn't actually do anything with the track. But as I was working on the EP, we thought it would be a nice gesture to actually include that. So it was reworked. Yeah. All the instruments were, all the music was completely restructured. I re-sang the vocals. A couple of the lyrics were changed, and it was just nice that at the end of the day, this EP is overdue. It is something I should have probably looked at a little time ago. So that was nice to do. There's a track on there that's getting quite a lot of interest from the critics. It's getting some nice radio play, and that one's called Answer Phone. It's a favourite of mine, actually. It's a bit of a dance floor filler, Ian.
Very good. So with all these different things, what are the most important things to create success for an album like this, one EP like this? Exposure,
perseverance. You've got to... Self-belief is huge as well. We are hearing a lot in the media about people being negative towards people in the public eye. Of course, we had the situation with the tragic situation with Flack, and it's a real thing. When I first released the news that I was going to be performing in China, and then on the back of that, the success of 100 million people watching this, I started to get trolled on all of my social media accounts. And it was instant. It was, as soon as you put yourself out there in the public eye and you start to have a little bit of success, and strangers rather than fans looking at what you're doing. And it's a really sad thing that we...
So how do you deal with it? Because I mean, obviously, I see you as a very strong person, and I know you, and we know each other very, very well. So but even then, I always say that all creatives, emotions and affecting their emotions,
of course,
is much deeper than the average other person. So how do you deal with something like that?
Well, initially, my reaction, because I do consider myself quite strong, I considered it a sign of success. And I took that spin on it and thought, well, it's going to come with the territory. If I am going to put myself out there more and more, there's going to be a huge number of people that don't approve of what I'm doing, don't like what I'm doing. And unfortunately, we live in a society where people find it a lot easier for some reason to say something negative than something positive. So my initial reaction was to just take that as a sign that that my star was rising, and it was just something that I had to contend with, something that I had to take. But that's very sad, first of all, that we have to do that. And then as I started to think a little deeper, I started to think, gosh, if we said that maybe my music is overdue and it's something I should have concentrated on earlier. But if I was a teenager or a 20-year-old and this was happening, would I be able to cope with that? And I started to feel for the younger artists out there, or people that perhaps don't have that inbuilt strength and perhaps self-belief or perseverance. But I have to admit, Ian, the more I'm doing and the more deeper you get into the industry, you do start to get more and more self-doubt, and then you start, these negative voices seem to get a little bit louder.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's a strange world. A couple of years ago, I got trolled, and I'd been asked by different television stations in the UK to talk about a specific problem that Prince William was facing. I spoke out on it, and I started getting death threats.
Yeah.
And so as you say, it comes with the territory, but it's very, very sad. So tell me some of the other tracks that are on the album.
Well, as I said, there's definitely a strong influence of strength and female empowerment. So a few of the songs, Go, 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 Whatever, they talk about a female role taking control of her relationship. And it's a relationship that's not necessarily going very well. And it's just stepping into your own and saying, I'm not taking this anymore. And I'm glad to say that's not from personal experience.
No, I know. You're very happily married. I know that, yeah.
But from this, at the same time, I see a lot of my friends and associates struggling with that. And sometimes I think particularly for ladies, we have attachments, and I don't just mean relationships, it could be a friendship. And you seem to have this embedded loyalty, and even if the friendship or the relationship isn't going exactly how you want it to, and you're not, you're giving rather than receiving too much out of this relationship, I think we find it very difficult to walk away, and maybe we should look after ourselves more.
I mean, female empowerment is really embodied in all the areas, because you're involved with pageants and that as well. How do women become stronger today? How have you become stronger today? How do women become stronger today in this society?
It's a difficult question for me to answer, Ian, if I'm honest, because I had so much strength and self-belief built into me from my late mother. And I'm surrounded by strong female roles. I have sisters, older sisters, and they're all very strong in their relationships and in their personal lives, in their careers. And I've just been brought up with that. And
did you always feel you could win, or were there sort of self-doubts, at times? Were there these voices that perhaps you're slightly starting to hear now? Have you always thought you can win?
Yeah, I never really had self-doubt until very recently. I had a lot of self-doubt as I dealt with grief over losing my mother.
Of course.
And I think that's quite natural for a lot of people when you go through a huge tragedy or a grieving process. I think it's natural that you reanalyze everything. And I did go through a huge stage of self-doubt. And right now, because I'm pushing myself forward in the music industry, I have all these female doubts about, my age and my appearance. But I still feel like they're a lot more dampened down than they would have been if it had not been for that upbringing. So I guess to answer the question, how do women find that strength, and how do they become that pillar of strength? I think the key is to spend time with more females and to hold each other up, compliment each other. And to be completely honest, Ian, I've never really understood why you wouldn't do that anyway. That's something that's always come very natural to me. If I'm in the company, and it doesn't matter whether it's a man, a woman, child, adult, I always automatically see something I like or something good, and I want to celebrate that. I want to tell them that, and I think the world would be, it sounds very cliche, but the world would be a lot nicer if people did that.
Because it was International Women's Day
Yes.
on Sunday, and I wrote a piece on my Facebook page saying that if women were listened to more, then the world would be a better place.
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
And I think it is very, very true. Do you think it's harder for women to break into the entertainment industry than men?
Maybe not. I think that it's quite difficult for me to answer that question, Ian, if I'm really honest, but I think females are still judged, rightly or wrongly, an awful lot on their appearance. And I know that it's not something that we should necessarily encourage, but at the same time, I think that may have advantages in the entertainment industry. But then the flip of that is the dark side that we saw in, like, the court case that we've had over in America about the sexual exploitation of women. Yeah. So it's difficult. Yes, okay, it might open an initial door or a window because of the way a female perhaps looks. But then there's that, there's the extra worry of self-protection as well. Where do you find that balance? Because,
we've seen some of the latest, and we're showing some of the latest photographs, and they're quite glamorous. They're slightly on the sexy side. So is there a line?
I'm sure there is, but I think the line in the first instance should be your own comfort zone. It's how you feel confident and how you feel confident in displaying yourself to the world. And perhaps a real life story about that, Ian, one of the tracks on the EP, Overdue, it's a little bit naughty.
Is it indeed?
It's about a man and a woman doing what they do naturally.
Really, indeed. Perhaps we shouldn't be talking. By the way, this will have to go out after 9 o'clock tonight now, by the sound of it. Carry on.
So I shot a music video for this recently.
Did you?
And of course, we had to go with the theme. And I have this beautifully shot music video that I'm now deliberating about whether I should release. And, the answer to that question will probably be no, I won't. Because I think maybe it crosses that line.
Really?
So yeah, absolutely. But and I think every aspiring artist out there, the ultimate goal is to have a huge record deal. But at the same time, while you're an independent artist such as myself, one of the real beautiful things is freedom of choice. I can choose my image, I can choose what photos I release, what music I can release, what music videos I do and don't release. So that it's a very nice thing for it's one of the benefits of being on side is that you do have that self-choice.
Do you find that influencers are very important now in the promotion, of albums as well?
Absolutely. The world very much revolves around different forms of social media, and it's the key way, the natural way, the first and primary way of exposure. And so we need our YouTube followers, we need our Instagram followers, and that is going to generate a buzz around anything you're doing, and that's going to generate your potential sponsors, your potential listeners, your potential fans, potential people that are going to download your music. So influencers have got a real place in current time and for the foreseeable future.
And talking about the future then, so what, I know you've got lots that she was telling me, she said, I can't tell you what I'm doing. I'm thinking, well, why have you come on then? so
Lots
bless
of
your heart, I'm only
projects.
joking. What can you talk about the future?
download the track, support me, get behind me.
Okay.
As I said, I am unsigned, and there's no major record company supporting me financially. So, all the ideas are mine. Yes, I've got a great team that work with me at the studio. I've got some fantastic supporters.
And I know you can't talk about these things, but there's some things in the pipeline, I think, as well.
There's some things in the pipeline in London, in Dubai. In the Midlands, where I'm from, there's lots of exciting events coming. So you must join my social media accounts, and they can have all the news fresh off the press.
Right. So, tell me the titles. How do we get in contact with you?
It's super easy. I'm Jolieanna Davis, which I will spell because it's a little unusual. So it's Jolieanna, Jolieanna Davis. You can find me on my own YouTube channel. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And all of my news about live performances in Dubai, in central London, in South London, in the Midlands, and potentially in Palm Springs as well. That's all going to be on my social media accounts.
So, can you talk about Dubai? You were just saying you may need to talk a little bit more about Dubai at the moment. What might be happening there?
Well, this was one of the first things that that was sort of achieved from the Dream Bigger experience over in China.
Okay.
So Mrs. Globe is an international beauty pageant, and there is a number of franchises across the world. One of those such franchises is in Dubai, and one of the associates with the foundation is talking to me about a live performance for their own event in Dubai.
Very good. So the stars are shining for you.
Thank you, Ian.
Good. So finally, what's the dream for 2020?
Wow, we've got the Brit Awards, we've got Eurovision Song Contest.
And she will do it, trust me.
Quite like to sing a James Bond theme tune, Ian. I think that would be nice.
What does success mean to you?
I think when you get to the point where you can 100% look in the mirror and say, I've done my best, I've achieved everything I can achieve, I've chased the dream, I've lived the dream, and I don't think there's any measure on that. In all realness, it could really be the Brits and those things that we spoke about, but at the same time, it could just be a really soul-filling and satisfying gig, and you just arrive on that stage, and in that moment you say, you know what, this is it, this is what I've been working for. So there isn't really a measure on that. I think you just know.
Yeah. Jolieanna, thank you so much. That was
great.
Let me just hold up again the two albums and the song. So this is the EP.
Yep, available in store at HMV.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
And all digital outlets.
Okay, and we'll talk about that again in a second. And this is the other one. So you can where can you download these from then? Yes.
Spotify. You can sample tracks on Amazon. You can download the album on Amazon. iTunes, iPlayer, YouTube, literally all major distribution sites. But it would be a huge help if you could get Jolieanna Davis as an artist, or the Overdue album added onto your playlist on Spotify. That would be superb.
Excellent. Jolieanna, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay, so another Positive Britain story, and this is the type of thing that we really want to promote on Positive Britain and ALB UK television as well. So for me, Ian Pelham Turner and Jolieanna Davis, it's goodbye for now. Keep smiling, even through all this virus problems that we're facing across the world. Keep on smiling. Bye for now.